Let's look at the installation of the Ballantyne Gear Eveook fall protection system using a lift with 100% fall protection. Working at heights is dangerous and can lead to injury or death. Always follow the manufacturer's instructions and get specific training by a competent person. This video is not complete as a training tool. Other videos related to this installation can be found on our website, shown in the description below. Generally, you will want to learn to install with ladders before installing with a lift. Lay out your gear in front of the bucket of the lift, as shown in the video. The rope bag with the anchor line rope is placed in the bucket. The end of the rope from the bottom of the stack is towards the outside of the lift and will later attach to the Eveook. The end of the rope from the top of the stack is towards the inside and will attach to the throw line. The throw line cube with the throw line is placed in the bucket. The end of the throw line from the top of the throw line stack is towards the outside of the lift and will attach to the projectile. The end of the throw line from the bottom of the stack is towards the inside and will attach to the anchor line rope. Attach the bottom of the throw line to the top of the anchor line. Attach the projectile to the top of the throw line. Attach projectile to the line thrower and place line thrower in the bucket. Place the Eveook on the rail as shown, with the connector of the Eveook on the inside of the rail. Connect the bottom of the anchor line to the Eveook. First installer will position the railing of the bucket slightly below the roof edge on a first side of the building and will attach throw line to the railing of the bucket, such that the throw line will be able to cross the building and go to the ground on the other side, but not go too far. First installer will launch the throw line across the building and will then detach the throw line from the railing. First installer places the Eveook on the roof edge as shown, making sure the anchor line is free to travel across the roof. The connection of the anchor line to the throw line is behind the installer. To prevent interference or tangling of the installer with the throw line and the anchor line, he or she will lift the connection of the two lines over his or her head and place it near the connector of the Eveook, so the lines are in front of the installer. Second installer, from the second side, will pull the throw line until he or she reaches the anchor line. Second installer will now pull the anchor line until the rope is tensioned. And will attach his personal Goblin rope grab and lanyard to the anchor line. And will maintain tension on the anchor line, firmly holding the Eveook to the edge of the roof on the first side, so that the first installer no longer needs to hold it. With second installer maintaining tension on the anchor line that is holding the Eveook firmly to the first side, installers are now ready to finish the installation, to include attaching a second Eveook on the second side and tensioning the anchor line between the two Eveooks. For the remainder of this demonstration, since the lift works better on concrete than grass, the sides will be switched. The second installer and the second side of the building will now be at the back of the building, and the first side of the building and the first attached Eveook will be at the front of the building. Installers will now complete the installation. First installer will attach one or more rope and roof protectors and one or more prussiks onto his harness and will then place an Eveook with a giant rope tensioner attached to its front into the bucket of the lift. Generally, the installer will also place an adjustable lifeline in the bucket. The adjustable lifeline, prussiks, and the rope and roof protectors are discussed in more detail in the Ballantyne Gear Technical Manual and in other videos. See in the description below. First installer will position the top rail of the bucket next to the anchor line, a few feet below the roof edge as shown. He or she will attach his personal Goblin and lanyard to the anchor line above his head. The installer will use his personal Goblin and lanyard to maintain tension on the line to the Eveook on the other side. Second installer on the ground will now detach from the anchor line. First installer will pull up about 10 feet of rope and will tie the rope to the rail of the bucket to allow slack on the rope between the rail and the Goblin attachment. First installer will attach the Eveook with the giant to the anchor line that is hanging below the installer's Goblin. Installer will then move the giant up the line until it reaches the Goblin. With the weight of the Eveook now maintaining tension on the anchor line to the other side, first installer will detach his personal Goblin from the anchor line. First installer will untie the anchor line from the rail of the lift, allowing the rope to hang to the ground. First installer lowers the lift to clear the Eveook. Positions the Eveook so the wheels are towards the building. And then positions the top rail of the bucket near the edge of the roof. Maintaining tension on the rope to the other side of the roof with one hand, The installer lifts the loose end of the rope from the giant to position the Eveook on the edge of the roof as shown. Repositioning the lift during this process may be necessary. Installer positions the bucket over the giant and attempts to retension the anchor line from within the bucket. For protection from falls, when reaching two arms through the sides of the bucket, installer straddles the post such that one arm is extended out of the lift on one side of the post and the other arm is extended on the other side of the post as seen in the video. Installer attaches a Goblin and carabiner to the anchor line. And reaching from within the bucket, tensions the line as much as feasible with a 2 times mechanical advantage as shown. Installer removes the carabiner and then attaches his personal lanyard to the Goblin on the anchor line as shown, providing installer protection from falls. Installer exits the lift as shown, repositioning his personal Goblin for maximum protection. With his personal Goblin and another carabiner, installer pulls the rope to 1 kilonewton, near full strength of many persons, tensioning the rope with a 2 times mechanical advantage. Installer locks in the tension on the rope with the giant and then ties a mule overhand knot as a backup just above the giant. The Eveook system will now support the installer such that he or she can place the rope and roof protectors and set the prussics, not shown in this video, after which users will be able to attach with their Goblin lanyards or adjustable lifelines and work protected from falls.